There are footballers who become great. There are footballers who become legends. And then there are those rare players who, for a brief and breathtaking moment, make you wonder if the throne of football might belong to someone else. A player with the feet of a magician, the imagination of an artist, and the audacity to look at the greatest player of his generation and say, without saying a word, "I can stand beside you." For a while, Neymar Jr. looked like that man. Not the next Messi, not the next Ronaldo. Something different. Something uniquely Brazilian. Something that carried the scent of the streets, the rhythm of samba, and the reckless joy of a boy who had never been taught that football was supposed to be played safely. Before the bright lights of Europe, before Barcelona, before Paris, before the criticism and the injuries and the questions, there was a young Neymar at Santos. And Santos knew. The boy was different. He played with that unmistakable Brazilian freedom. The ball seemed attached to his boots by invisible thread. Defenders would approach him with courage and leave with confusion. A flick here, a feint there, a burst of acceleration. And suddenly, the defender was no longer defending. He was surviving. Neymar wasn't simply beating opponents. He was humiliating the laws of expectation. The world watched as this skinny Brazilian teenager became the jewel of Santos, carrying the famous number 11 with a swagger that belonged to another era. He won the Copa Libertadores. He won the South American Footballer of the Year award. He became Brazil's great hope. And eventually, Barcelona came calling. Imagine that. Neymar arriving at the Camp Nou, walking into a dressing room containing Lionel Messi, Andrés Iniesta, and Xavi Hernandez. The greatest orchestra in football. And somehow, the Brazilian didn't look out of place. He looked like another instrument waiting to be played. Then came the 2014-15 season. The trio of Messi, Suárez, and Neymar. MSN, 3 letters that terrified Europe. 3 men who seemed to understand one another without speaking. Messi was the genius. Suárez was the predator. And Neymar was the storm. He scored. He assisted. He dribbled. He created. He danced. He became decisive in the biggest moments, including the Champions League final in Berlin. Barcelona lifted the European Cup. Neymar finished the competition with 10 goals, level with Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo as the tournament's joint top scorers. And suddenly the question became impossible to ignore. What if? What if Neymar stayed at Barcelona? What if he had remained beside Messi? What if he had resisted the temptation to become the main man somewhere else? Because there was a feeling deep within football's imagination that Neymar's story could become something enormous, perhaps even greater than Messi's. But football is full of crossroads, and sometimes the road that looks like freedom leads somewhere you never expected. In 2017, Neymar left Barcelona for Paris Saint-Germain in a world record transfer. He wanted to escape Messi's shadow. He wanted to be the protagonist, the number 1, the player whose name stood alone above the others. And Paris welcomed him like royalty. The Eiffel Tower glittered. The cameras followed. The shirt sales exploded. The expectations became enormous. Neymar had everything: talent, money, fame, youth, and the stage to build his own empire. But the dream began to fracture. Injuries arrived like unwanted guests. Ankle problems, metatarsal injuries, long spells away from the pitch. Just when the rhythm returned, something would break it again. And with every absence, the questions grew louder. Was Neymar too fragile? Was he too distracted? Did he enjoy the celebrity more than the football? Was he wasting the extraordinary gift that had been placed inside those feet? The world became increasingly cruel toward him. People forgot the magic and remembered the mistakes. They remembered the parties, the headlines, the controversies, the injuries, the moments when he appeared to choose everything except football. But perhaps the saddest thing about Neymar is that the greatest enemy of his potential was never another footballer. It was time, because every season is a chapter, and chapters cannot be recovered once they are lost. Then came the 2022 World Cup. Brazil arrived with expectation. Neymar arrived carrying the weight of a nation. The dream was simple: bring the World Cup home. But football does not care about simplicity. Brazil were eliminated by Croatia in the quarterfinals. Neymar had scored what looked like a goal worthy of carrying a nation to glory. He had equaled Pelé's record of 77 goals for Brazil. But the trophy remained beyond his reach. Another dream had slipped through his fingers. And then came the move to Saudi Arabia. A new chapter, a different landscape. But by then, the question had changed. It was no longer, can Neymar become the greatest? It became, what could Neymar have been? And perhaps that is the most painful question of all. Because Neymar did not fail. That needs to be said. He won trophies. He scored hundreds of goals. He became Brazil's all-time leading scorer. He won the Champions League. He won league titles. He became one of the most gifted footballers of his generation. But greatness has a strange cruelty to it. Sometimes being extraordinary isn't enough. Sometimes people judge you not by what you achieved, but by what they believe you were capable of achieving. And Neymar was capable of almost anything. He had the talent to sit at football's highest table. He had the imagination. He had the technique. He had the charisma. He had the moments. But perhaps he never had the uninterrupted years required to turn brilliance into domination. Messi had longevity. Cristiano had obsession. Neymar had magic. And magic, unfortunately, can disappear before the audience is ready to say goodbye. Today, when the old clips appear, there is something almost haunting about them. Neymar at Santos. Neymar at Barcelona. That acceleration. That smile. That ridiculous confidence. That little touch that sent a defender one way while the ball went another. For a few seconds, the world would stop. And you would remember. You would remember why everyone once believed this boy could become more than the heir to Messi. He could have written his own chapter at the very summit of football. Perhaps that is why his story hurts. Not because Neymar wasn't great, but because we caught a glimpse of something even greater. A footballer who could have ruled an era. A magician who had the stage, the talent, and the imagination. But somewhere between the injuries, the expectations, the choices, and the cruel mathematics of time, the future everyone imagined slowly disappeared. And now, when the question is asked, what happened to Neymar? Perhaps the answer isn't that he lost his talent. Perhaps football simply never gave him enough uninterrupted time to show us how far that talent could truly go. Because some players leave behind trophies. Others leave behind records. But Neymar leaves behind something more haunting. The memory of what might have been. The boy from Santos who made football look like a playground. The Brazilian who danced through defenders while the world watched in disbelief. The man who stood beside Messi and looked capable of becoming his successor. And the superstar whose greatest achievement may forever remain the same as his greatest tragedy. He showed us the ceiling of his talent, but he never had enough time to touch it.